Celtic remained unbeaten in the league after a well-fought win over Aberdeen at Pittodrie. In today's video, we will discuss the fallout from that match and go over all the latest Celtic news from the last 24 hours, which includes the huge Celtic transfer news after a green light has been given. But first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers has explained why he subbed off Alex Vaal at halftime in the Hoops statement victory over closest title challengers Aberdeen at Pittodrie last night. It was no simple triumph for the boys, with the conditions more than playing a part in what proved to be a closely fought encounter. It took a moment of quality for the visitors to break the deadlock. Greg Taylor, who came on as a halftime sub in place of Vale, found Reo Hatate in behind the Dons' back line with a sublime chipped pass. The Japanese midfielder took it down adeptly and finished into the bottom left corner. The boys held out for the win despite some late pressure from the hosts. Celtic now sits 7 points clear of Aberdeen at the top of the Scottish Premiership with a game in hand. Post-match, Rodgers explained his half-time change. "He was on a booking and we just needed it to be a little cleaner through because of how they were pressing," said the boss. "We wanted Greg's quality on the inside to come out. Alex was on a booking and he was playing more on the outside because he's dynamic. He wants to run, but our space was on the inside. So it was more tactical than an injury. He's fine." Taylor's quality off the bench shone through, with the 27-year-old coming on to set up the eventual winner. It was the left-back's 5th assist of the season and 26th in total during his almost 5.5 years with Celtic. His contract situation remains uncertain, but Rodgers has always been coherent in his desire to keep Taylor around. If he doesn't renew, he will be free to speak to clubs from January onwards about a pre-contract agreement. Let's see how the next few weeks unfold. In some other news, Celtic winger Luis Palma has been linked with a January exit after a poor start to the season, during which he has made just 7 competitive appearances for the boys. The Honduran winger is clearly not in Brendan Rodgers' long-term plans, having not been included in the Hoops' last 3 Scottish Premiership matchday squads, and it has been reported that Rodgers has green-lighted an exit for him. Although Palmer prospered in his first few months at Celtic, scoring regularly domestically and in the UEFA Champions League, he fell off a cliff at the beginning of this calendar year and hasn't rediscovered his form since. Now, according to Sunsport, he is attracting interest from the MLS and Europe and could leave the boys as soon as next month. The player reportedly enjoys a good profile in the States due to his prominent role with Honduras. In his youth, he even spent time with Real Monarchs, MLS side Real Salt Lake's feeder club. For all parties, a Palmer Celtic exit in January would be best. He is quite clearly a square peg in a round hole in Glasgow's East End, and nothing, it seems, is changing soon. His attributes aren't suited to Rodgers' fast-paced, high-pressing style of play. The club would be best cutting their losses in January and finding a more ample backup to Dyson Maeder on the left-hand side. In other news, Celtic central defender Austin Trusty has addressed the Parkhead faithful after playing a key role in the Hoops' 1-0 win over Aberdeen at Pittodrie last night. The American came back into Brendan Rodgers' starting lineup at the expense of Liam Scales and put in an admirable performance. Aside from a minor hitch late on when he presented Esther Sokler with an opportunity to level the game, Trusty didn't put a foot wrong. He adeptly complimented his fellow countryman Cameron Carter-Vickers at the heart of the Hoops backline, and post-match he took to Instagram to address the Celtic supporters. Trusty, who recently announced that he and his partner are expecting a baby, thanked the fans for supporting the team despite the crazy weather. Plus, 3 points, thank you to all the travelling supporters sticking through all those crazy conditions outside. Hail, hail. The conditions undoubtedly contributed to the quality of last night's match. Celtic, however, didn't let the rain and gusts impact their terrific start to the campaign. The Hoops now sit 7 points ahead of Aberdeen at the top of the Scottish Premiership with a game in hand. They are also 11 clear of third-placed Rangers who, according to Chris Boyd, are back after winning 6-0 last night. Next up on the agenda for Celtic is Hibernian this Saturday. It's another 3 p.m. kickoff for Rodgers and Cohen's before attention turns to Dinamo Zagreb next Tuesday. In other news, former Celtic manager Neil Lennon reckons it will take an almighty collapse for his old club's current run of dominance to be stopped. Lennon spoke after the Hoops' hard-fought 1-0 victory at Pittodrie last night, in which Reo Hatate stepped up with 12 minutes left to win it for the boys. Substitute Greg Taylor, who made an impactful mark off the bench, played a sublime chipped ball in behind the Dons' backline for Hatate to control and sweep home. It felt like a significant victory for Brendan Rodgers' side, who now sit 7 points clear of Aberdeen at the top of the Scottish Premiership with a game in hand. Celtic are in prime position to secure yet another title, and ex-boss Lennon thinks it will take something incredible for his old team not to bring home the bacon once more. They're leaving a lot of teams in their wake, he said on Sky Sports. It's going to take an almighty collapse for them not to win the league, which you can't see coming. As well as strengthening their title credentials, Celtic proved last night that they can win ugly, and when the conditions are against them. You've got to give Celtic a lot of credit, said Lennon. On a horrible night, they've come up here and they've come away with 3 points and a very professional performance. Next up on the agenda for the Scottish Premiership champions is Hibernian this Saturday afternoon at Parkhead. Kick-off is set for 3 p.m. before the Hoops turn their attention to Europe and a trip to face Dinamo Zagreb. The fixtures continue to pile up as Rodgers' men drive on with their ultra-marathon. Lastly, Celtic winger James Forrest has opened up on a mid-season phone call from former captain Scott Brown, who tried to convince him to join Ayr United earlier this year. Despite the offer to play closer to his Prestwick roots, Forrest politely declined, staying focused on extending his remarkable career at Celtic. Forrest revealed the cheeky approach from Brown, now the manager of Ayr United, during a chat with the Daily Record. The offer came during January or February of last season, before Forrest re-established himself in the first team squad, with Brown pitching the idea of a move to Somerset Park. He actually phoned me. I think he asked me last February if I'd go down. What was my answer? Just no yet. I don't even think he said I would get a game. He said I could compete for a place. Forrest's decision to remain at Parkhead is driven by his desire to add to his incredible legacy. He recently extended his contract with Celtic until 2026, giving him ample time to chase records and milestones. One of Forrest's most significant achievements is his run of scoring in 15 consecutive seasons, a feat matched by only 2 other players in Celtic history. With his current deal, he has the opportunity to surpass that record by scoring in 17 seasons, but he needs to net this season before we get too far ahead of ourselves. The winger joked that he needs to get the finger out and find the back of the net. Celtic fans, what are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let us know down in the comment section below. That does bring us to the end of today's video. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Thank you